Welcome to a new Look Saigon discussion on Chapter 2 of the Sam Harris book, Waking Up, with my bro Grant. In this episode, we talk about what consciousness might be and the strange reality that the two hemispheres of the human brain actually have different desires. Have you ever sat down and just listened to your thoughts? Is meditation just the right brain listening to the chattering of the left brain? Does pineapple actually go on pizza? Is this all a dream? Was Bruce Willis actually dead at the end of Sixth Sense? See you on the other side. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, sweet. Yo, what's up, guys? I'm here back with my friend Grant. We're going to continue Sam Harris' book, Waking Up, Chapter 2. And before we start, actually, I got the UPP shirt on because we have a fundraiser this Sunday. UPP is the local charity that my friend Toro runs here in Saigon.
Is that the football charity?
Yeah. So they hook up kids with football training and English classes. So yeah, nice. So our fundraiser this Sunday is we're watching the Manchester United versus Manchester City football match. Free flow beer and food, guys. Come on through. Come through. So yeah, man. Yo, so chapter 2 of this book, straight up consciousness, yo.
Yeah. This chapter is just so interesting.
But what did you like the most about it?
I'm just learning about the left and the right hemisphere of the brain and like some of the experiments they did. Yeah, kind of blew my mind a little bit. That you essentially have two consciousnesses in each side of your brain. It's almost like two people battling in either side of your brain. Because I knew like the right side of your brain controls the left side of your body and vice versa. But I've not really looked into the left and right hemisphere any further than that. So learning about the experiments and how the brain makes up stories to explain the communication was blowing my mind.
Right. And like, you think it's possible right now that our brains are still connected? Like, can we hear both of them? Because I guess they're both still talking right now, right?
That's the thing that I couldn't quite wrap my head around, is because he was saying that you essentially have two personalities and two consciousnesses in both sides of your brain. And if one side got shut off, you'd still have the other one, is what I think he was saying. Right? Maybe, I don't know. But then when we everyday life now that you and I are talking, it is like a mesh of them both. Yeah.
I like how he tries to describe the right brain, because the right brain, it's like it can see everything that the left brain is doing, but the right brain can't like produce words or something. And
each hemisphere, I guess, is like specialized in certain things. I also found it super interesting when they did an experiment and they asked people in their left hemisphere and their right hemisphere, what do you want to do for your career? And like this guy, one side said like racing driver, and the other side said like something really, really boring.
Right. Yeah, so if that guy has those two brains that they want different things, then which one is him?
Exactly. Exactly. Like which one prevails and which one is your true desire?
Yeah, like even like say in my brain, I have both left and right, and they're working together. I guess they still each want different things. Then which one is me then? That's like what I'm wondering. Then which one is actually
right? And is one side better than the other in whatever way you want to interpret better, like better performing, better morals, or are they equal? Or it's crazy.
Right. Or do they complement each other? Like,
I guess they do complement each other, but when one side is saying it has a different desire to the other and it's completely different, they can't really complement each other in that example.
Right. It's so weird, huh? I
Uh,
guess also like for this conversation, we should also ask the question like, what do we think is consciousness itself?
well, I think neither like that's the thing that no one can answer, right?
Mm.
Um, and it spoke about that a little bit in this chapter, saying if you take someone's brain and examine it, there's nothing in there to indicate that there's consciousness. It's just a slab of meat, essentially. So,
Yeah.
what is consciousness? Um, it's hard to even wrap your head around. Like, how does this chunk of meat in my head somehow form ideas and concepts and me and communicate with you? It's that's yeah, that's one of the things which is just so hard to wrap my head around.
Like even this experience right now, like just talking like to each other, like we're hearing that with our ears, and then the sound is going, I guess, what through our ears and into our brain, and then we hear it in our mind.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then your mind is working super quickly to decide like what's your reaction to the things I'm saying, and then how are you going to respond to that?
Mm. I found some questions that have to do with consciousness. Like number one, of course,
Hmm,
is what is consciousness? But number two is, does consciousness create reality?
good question. I think it has to, because if he also gave another example of how do you tell when something is conscious, and he
Mm-hmm.
gave an example of different animals.
Yeah.
So we quite often think of mammals as conscious, and then we might think of a slug as not conscious. And he was saying if he could transport you into a mammal, if you could then come away from that experience and have remember things and feel about how that was, then
Mm.
that's consciousness, which is probably the case in, like a dog. Then he was saying if you then got transported into another animal like a slug and you
Mm.
remembered nothing, you felt nothing, it's probably not conscious.
I wonder what about something like bacteria? Because it's trying to survive, right? Like it's alive, I guess, and trying not to
Yeah.
die.
But then that's the crazy thing is like we think of bigger animals like mammals as conscious, but then even things like ant colonies, like ants are
Right.
crazy intelligent.
Yeah.
They like enslave other ants and build empires and shit like that.
True.
So maybe even like some really small creatures are conscious.
So would like to be conscious would just mean like to be alive and trying to survive, I guess.
Yeah, because I always thought of being conscious as having a concept of me. Um, But
Mm.
then when he explained if you get transported into another animal, if you have can remember having experiences and feelings,
Mhm.
um, so things like, a lot of animals they have definitely feelings of anger and happiness and
Mhm.
pain. So most animals probably are conscious, I guess, because it's just those basic feelings. It's not necessarily like, you know, um, a hamster wouldn't be able to question who am I,
Right.
but it's probably got some basic feelings, which according to Sam Harris would be considered as conscious.
Maybe so like in a way like every let's say every animal and human is self-conscious uh according to like I guess how creatively they can think of what the self is, maybe.
I guess there's a scale as well, right? Like just saying consciousness um, is really broad. Like
Mm.
humans are probably on the high end of consciousness, and then
Right.
some smaller animals are probably conscious, but their scope of being conscious is way smaller because they, can only experience a certain amount of emotions and yeah.
Mm. What about this? Like this makes me think about like people say that elephants are wise. Like I don't
Mm,
know why, 'cause I don't actually I've never actually like spent time with elephants, so I have no idea why. But I have seen one time at the bird park in Malaysia, there was one bird that was caged and one bird that was not caged. and that bird that was free would go get food and bring it back to the bird in the cage, and they were different species.
That definitely indicates consciousness because that almost indicates empathy, right? Like
Right.
it's like that bird is comprehending, I'm out here enjoying the world. I've got access to all this food. And then look at this poor bastard over here. Um, I'm gonna help him out. I mean, that definitely could be the case. It seems like it would be the case.
That trips me out. Also, like those videos where you see like there's a let's say like five turtles swimming and one turtle is like upside down and stuck, like trying to get back up, like right side up, and the other turtles go and help push him to
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
get like. How does that happen? Why
Yeah,
would they
right.
do that?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like
But
actually, in
they
the
have,
bird park, I was surprised because I was expecting that every bird was trying to get food for themselves and tell everyone else like screw you, I'm gonna get as much food as possible for me. So when I saw that bird feeding that other bird, I was just totally tripped out.
well, I've just thought, they have those birds that a crocodile will open its mouth up and they'll go and sit in the crocodile's mouth
Yeah.
and pick out the bits of food and eat it. Like the
Yeah.
bird and the crocodile do you think they're both conscious because they're both thinking this is beneficial? Are they able to think that?
I mean, it seems like many animals like allow other animals to get in their space when it's beneficial, right? Even in the ocean, I think like there's some fish that will eat some stuff off the bodies of sharks and stuff, and they'll just let them do that.
Yeah, yeah. I think some of it can definitely be evolution where
Mm.
uh, it's just that's how they've evolved.
So
Whether it's
teamwork was part of evolution.
yeah, whether it's conscious thought or not, I don't know.
Right, right. I don't know if they've decided to do that or it's just like
But
this is
it's
how we
just an ever
survive.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like maybe thousands of birds got ate by crocodiles and then, eventually they both evolved in a way to adapt with each other, but they could also both equally be conscious.
Right. What trips me out is like I'm like now thinking like I'm kind of zooming out and just looking at planet Earth itself. Like in the beginning, planet Earth is just like what like a rock full of
It's like a
volcano.
molten
Yeah,
rock,
like a
yeah.
molten rock full of volcanoes, and eventually as it becomes damn it, I don't know what how to say habitable. Like, is that fair to say? Like
Yeah,
as
yeah,
as somehow water and vegetation begins to grow, suddenly like things with consciousness start appearing out of the earth like fruit.
yeah. Yeah. I'd say fruit wouldn't be conscious though. It'd be
Right.
a gradual period, right? Like it'd be some kind of small tadpole-like creature which probably doesn't have consciousness. And then
Mm,
as it becomes a small mammal, the likelihood of consciousness is increasing. Because if you look at those animals close to Earth, like chimps, they
mm.
can like pull pranks on each other and work together. They've got to be conscious.
Dude, what tripped me out recently about chimps is the video that somebody shared about I think it's a zoo in Cameroon where there's there's two chimps and one is just annoying the other one, just like poking him, and the other chimp is like reacting super annoyed, like like stop it. And when the chimp stops annoying him, the other chimp is sitting there like this and turns to see like if he actually stopped or if he'll continue giving him attention.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god,
So
we're so
human-like.
similar. Like we're so
Yeah,
similar.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Jesus, man. There's a question here that says, what about like, damn, like, so we are conscious right now. Like, I don't want to say how is that possible because like, I don't even like nobody knows, but like,
No.
is there anything else in the universe that could be conscious?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like fungi. They have. I can't remember. I remember listening to some Joe Rogan podcast years ago, and I remember having my mind blown at how intricate the communication between
Mm,
fungi is. It's almost like they're a living being. So
yeah.
maybe.
Like, I wonder, like, is it possible for something conscious to come out of something unconscious? Like, how would that make sense? I'm just thinking,
What do you?
just random
Uh,
thoughts.
you mean like an inanimate object or something?
Like, like one question that appears here is, what do you think about the universe itself? Do you think it would be conscious or unconscious?
Mm,
or is universe too big of a word? Like, what about just nature itself?
I don't know. I think it's hard because even the definition of consciousness is a bit blurry.
True.
Um, so I'd say nature is too wide.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. This is one of those trippy questions. Now, I wonder what about like in the future with AI and all that stuff, like these machines that
That's
look like people that seem conscious. I wonder what that's going to be like to interact with them.
yeah. I mean, as soon as something is aware of itself and can question who it is conscious. So AI is definitely going to be conscious pretty soon. Uh, and then it's like, are there going to be laws in place where you have to treat conscious AI with the same uh, rights as
All
humans?
right, same ethics.
Yeah.
What if you step on the cord and you unplug them? And oh shit, you go to jail.
Sorry, dude.
There's a question here from Sam Harris that he says, "Are we unconscious during sleep or merely unable to remember what sleep is like?"
Yeah,
And
it's
and like just
because
thinking about how we even fall asleep, like so we close our eyelids, but we're still
yeah.
looking at the inside of our eyelids.
Yeah, it's so weird as well that in order to function, it's just you have to close your eyes and go to sleep for 8 hours every day, and then we go into this weird like LSD trip that you don't really remember for 8 hours every night, and we wake up in the morning, you're like, shall I have eggs or shall I have bacon? You don't even
Right.
think about what's just happened for the past 8 hours.
So you take a break like from this metaverse for like yeah, about like 7, 8 hours, and you just wake up and you're just right back in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny because if someone's asleep or knocked out or something, you say they're unconscious. But then if you think about it, in some dreams, they are so vivid that it is like you're having, you're problem solving and you're going on, you can have these feelings and they feel so real.
Yeah,
So it's almost like you're not unconscious, it's a different type of consciousness.
right. It's like a different state of consciousness.
Yeah.
Like you're tripping basically.
Mm, mm.
Sam Harris says this. He says only 25% of Americans believe in evolution, while 68% believe in the literal existence of Satan.
Yeah, crazy,
My question for
crazy.
you was, is it similar or different in the UK compared to
I
America?
actually Googled this because I thought like that's crazy low. So 71% of people in the UK believe in evolution,
Mm,
um, which is a huge difference. That's almost three quarters, whereas only
mm.
1 quarter in the US believe in evolution. That's crazy.
I didn't know it was so low. I guess because like my hometown is within that 25%. So I wasn't even aware that 75% of the entire country didn't believe in that.
It's nuts. It's nuts. It's just because, especially in the UK and Western Europe, religion is dying out really.
Mm.
Whereas it still seems really relevant in the US. So that makes a huge difference. Um, but it's crazy. Like scientists can prove evolution. There's been countless experiments that prove evolution. They've like manipulated certain species to evolve at a faster rate. Like it's a fact. Yet 70 something percent of Americans think that's not true, and they think that the devil is real. It's insane.
Mm. Jeez. I think if you read any books by like Napoleon Hill, like basically like he believes something like that the devil is just a metaphor for self-doubt.
Yeah.
But he couldn't release that book until after he died because it was like too
I did also
controversial.
think with the left and right hemisphere of the brain, like if one is good and one is bad, is that
Mm.
like your ancient devil inside your own head?
Yeah, but okay, so I'm looking right now at the diagram of left and right brain, and the left brain says logic, science, sense of time, and language. And then
Okay.
the right side says creative, art, intuition,
Yeah.
imagination. Right. So I wonder how does someone become whatever, bad or good? Like, how would that
I
even
suppose
happen?
that explains more about the job roles then. One is more logical and side is more creative. So the
Mm,
logical side is probably thinking, oh, I'll be an accountant because it's a secure job and I'll pay my bills. And then the creative side is probably thinking, I want to be, I don't know, a performance dancer or whatever.
mm. I wonder, like, if it's possible to exercise like both sides of the brain and increase the strength in both sides.
Interesting. And some people are more logical and some people are more creative than others. I wonder if that is them more one side dominant or are they or both sides 50-50. That's definitely something we should look into actually,
Yeah.
whether they both work 50-50 or do people have a dominant side? That'd be super interesting.
Also, I wonder if a person can decide, like, in the context of that situation, which one would be most beneficial, like to use left or to use
It
right.
wouldn't be it'd be subconscious though, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
You can't think, okay, I want to think with my right side. You could think I'm going to think logically about this, which then I guess would make that area of your brain, I guess, yeah, I guess you could. If you think, okay, I'm going to be logical about this, then that means that the logical side of your brain would start firing more, I guess.
Like, there's something like some quote from Einstein that I feel that suggests that when he, let's say, came up with the EM, damn it, what was his formula again? I just blacked out.
E equals MC squared. Is
Yeah,
that it? His?
equals MC squared. He said that that came. It feels like what he's saying that it came to him through intuition, that he couldn't logically find it because like he couldn't use the logic part of his brain to actually find that formula.
Hmm.
The stuff he's saying sounds like pretty like I wonder why Sam Harris doesn't mention Einstein's consciousness quotes. Like here's one quote like a human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts, and his feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness.
Um,
Albert Einstein.
yeah, that's crazy. I've never really looked into Einstein much, but I always thought of him as this super logical scientist. So it's quite interesting to
Hmm.
hear him think that way.
Also, like as a kid, he wasn't like a gifted student, right? And even like as an adult, when he tried to find jobs as a professor, people wouldn't hire him.
Mm.
And it was during that
It's
time that he came up with E equals MC squared when
it's
people wouldn't hire him.
they say it's like a fine line between like brilliant intelligence and people who are crazy as well.
Mm,
Um, so when you're kind of outside of that box where you think too outside of it, people can
mm,
sometimes dismiss you as crazy until you then have that moment like, ha, like I figured something out. Like I was actually, I knew I had this thing that was going right for me.
right. Have you ever heard of anyone say like supposedly men are more left-brained and women are more right-brained?
No, I haven't. Is that a thing?
That's something that I've that I've come across and some things
Oh,
before.
okay.
And then but you can take like a little quiz to see like whatever which part of your brain dominates.
I know that
And
men are more logical, generally speaking.
yeah.
Uh, and yeah, so I guess that would make sense because logic sits in the left part of the brain. And then if you look at industries like science, which it says here, the left part of the brain fires for science,
Mm-hmm.
that's a male-dominated industry as well. Same as
Mm,
with art, like, there are a lot of females in art. It makes
mm.
sense. It definitely would make sense.
Like
Which then
whenever
also goes back to the question about 50-50. Does that
yeah.
mean most men are split like 70-30 left side and the opposite for women?
Right. Like when I've taken these like are you left or right brain quizzes, usually it'll say I'm right brained, that I'm a right brain male.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
Like I think like just most recently I've been training my left side more. but for a good like a really good year and a half, I was training my right side.
Mm,
Like not
mm.
really meaning to, but that's just what happened.
I wonder if it shifts as you age too, because
Mm,
as I've got older, I've definitely, looking here, more logical, sense of time. But when I was younger, creative, art, imagination, um, those things are way more prevalent in most people's childhoods. So
mm,
I wonder if as you age, do the different sides of the brains become more or less dominant?
mm. Also, this reminds me that I've heard that when you take psychedelics, like for example mushrooms, that it looks like both sides of your brain are activated. Like they're both
Ah,
lighting
oh
up.
yeah, I've seen those scans where the brain just lights up.
Yeah, and damn it, is it the left brain? Like I think I heard the left brain is where your brain identifies yourself. Like, okay, this is me. And then on the right side is where your brain identifies other. Those are the other things. So if they're when they're both lit up, it feels like other and me is the same.
Interesting. So is the right side where like sympathy and empathy would live?
Maybe you're
Left
right.
side, the left side is like your psychopath side.
I mean, some people say the ego is in the left brain.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a pretty interesting TED talk about a lady that she has a stroke in her left brain and like her sense of self is like dissolved. But I mean, she's also having a stroke too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Sam Harris also says it raises the question if somebody decides, like we're having this conversation and you decide, you know what, fuck it, I don't want to be logical, I don't want to be science-based, I want to be creative, have good imagination, I want to cut off the sensors to my
Mm,
left side brain. Is that murder because they're both conscious?
all right. I mean, like if the person really asks for it, like can they just have them sign a waiver? Like this is totally your fault,
It's
by
the
the way.
right side that's asking for it and it's killing the left side, and they both have individual consciousness.
Yeah, but I feel like the right side wouldn't care, but the left side would kill the right side. I feel like that
Yeah,
would
the
happen.
ego.
Yeah, the left side would be like, I don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah, the logical left side is like, I don't care about your artistic, creative endeavors.
No, plus he mentioned right that like I think psychopaths like are unable to feel other people's pain or something, and like so there's something like wrong with is it the right side of the brain? I think.
Think so. Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah.
so it's like that, right? So it kind of does feel like the left side is just a psychopath, and then the right
I
side is
wonder if
like,
psychedelics would help pure psychopaths then, because it sounds like psychopaths have a more dominant right side of the brain. And if they took psychedelics, it might, because you were saying it just lights up all of the brain.
mm,
I would, that'd be interesting.
it's possible, dude. Because like thinking back to like the Charles Manson, uh, he would take his followers, let's say I think into the woods and have a psychedelic trip, but it was just them tripping.
Oh shit. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wasn't the one tripping. He was brainwashing them while they were tripping. So it's possible that you're
Damn.
right. Maybe he knew that something would get like healed. So he's like, no, no, no. I'm trying to use this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez. But yeah, I wonder. I mean, what do you think? Like, is it ethical to remove someone's half of the brain if they? I mean, if they ask for it, like.
No, surely not. Surely not. Um, that's it's like those not completely the same, but it's like those body modifications. People who ask, "Oh, I want to cut my fingers off and shit like that." Like, no ethical person is going to do, a doctor or surgeon is going to do that. Because if you're asking that, I think you have some kind of mental issue that needs addressing.
But what if that person just pays a lot of money?
I mean, it's possible, right? But the bright side and the left side form who you are. So
Mm,
you're almost wanting to kill part of your personality and you don't even know what the results are going to be. So
yeah.
that person is crazy irrational or just like
Yeah.
I'm what sort of person in their right mind is like, yeah, fuck it, cut one side of my brain off and who knows what personality is going to come out. That's insane.
Yeah, I wonder like when we do meditation and we hear all of these thoughts, I wonder is it coming from the left, the right, or both? I don't know, but the right can't produce words, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh man.
is meditation just the right brain observing the left brain?
Good question. Hubert.
'Cause I feel like the left
So,
brain has got me into so much trouble, man. Like, god damn.
so it's more about when it says language, it's not about thoughts, it's more about actually speaking, it says here. So patients with right hemisphere lesions speak monotonously, lacking the emotional tone. So it actually
Uh,
affects the way you speak rather than your thoughts.
true, because the right brain could still spell out race, like racing driver or something, but
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah,
say
yeah,
it. True, true. So
yeah,
it still
exactly.
can make words.
Yeah.
Jeez. Sam Harris mentions the word soul sometimes.
Mm, that's interesting because he's a pretty ardent atheist.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. Have you got some notes there what he says about soul? Uh,
I mean, he's basically saying that, like, according to the research that he's done, like, for example, it says neuroscience has also produced results that are equally hostile to the traditional idea of souls. But what is the traditional idea of a soul?
I think that is like the religious idea, right? That you have a soul that once your physical body is dead, your soul kind of captures who you are, your consciousness and your personality. And then
Hmm.
depending on what life you lead, your soul goes to heaven. That's how I always interpret the traditional
Hmm.
idea of soul.
I think like what some people in spirituality, I'll just say the word believe for now, that what some of them believe is that, like, what if it's possible that, like, consciousness was already there, like, and then when your body is formed, then, like, a part of that consciousness, how do you even explain this? Like, a part of this, like, let's say a universal consciousness is like dropped into your body, and then that body is conscious, like, of itself.
Hmm.
Some
You
people
can
think
see
that.
why people that just sounds like God and the creator and the creator of man. You can see why people use religion to explain these things.
But then again, like, these are people that are 0% religious, though, like no
Yeah, I
religion
know,
at
but
all.
you can see why it gets kind of blurry, right? Because
Yeah,
that sounds crazy.
somebody could totally make a nice story out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think one common story is like God created, let's say human consciousness. God created, now let's just say consciousness in general. God created consciousness so it could experience itself.
Mm.
But we don't know anyways, though. We have no idea. What do you think about chapter 2 overall?
It was interesting, real interesting. Because when I was picked this book up and I was reading about, searching for spirituality, like chapter 2 is way more science-based than I thought. But I think
Mm,
it's just laying the foundations. You want to understand how the brain works, understand the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, understand how it processes stuff, and then the further chapters I think are going to go more into spirituality and why it's beneficial for your brain because it seems like it's
mm,
like a science-based approach to spirituality without religion. So you
mm,
need to understand the brain before you can understand the effects it's going to have on the brain.
true.
Um, so I thought it was more just going to be based off the cover of the book, just all about what is spirituality, why
Mm.
it's good for you. I didn't think it would go so deep into consciousness and the brain. It's really interesting though. What were your thoughts?
I think no, yeah, I think this is good preparation for part 3, which is like questioning the self, right?
Yeah,
And it seems like
yeah,
spirituality is just that. It's just like questioning that self and like shedding whatever idea you have of what the self is, like, over and over and over. And every time
yeah.
you shed it, there's like another layer that, like, we're not
Uh-huh.
aware of until you shed it again.
Yeah. And it's just being aware, I think, spirituality. Being
Mm-hmm.
aware of yourself and being aware of others and being aware of your environment. Because so many people just kind of go through life just not questioning things. And I think
Right.
in spirituality, it forces you to question things, and it's a good thing that you're questioning things.
Mm.
Then it's almost like once it's out of the box, you can't go back because you
Right.
start to look at things so differently. And
Yeah.
some people don't question things too because it's easy just to think, oh, I'm just going to follow life in this way because that's what everyone else desires, and that's the path
Yeah.
I'm going to take.
The red pill is scary.
Yeah,
Like in the Matrix, right? The fucking Matrix.
yeah,
You can't unsee it after you take it.
right, right.
Like I remember one time, just in my I had been like whatever reading spirituality and stuff, and like there was one day where like I was washing the dishes, and then I just felt like, oh my God, even my name is just a label. Like I just think I'm Nick because my parents told everyone to call me that.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But maybe I'm just consciousness, but I don't even know what consciousness is, so I don't know who I am, man.
yeah, yeah. It's nuts. It's so nuts.
But spirituality, like some people can get totally lost in it. Um,
Yeah.
and it can go straight to the ego, like or let's say straight to the left brain. It goes straight there, and then the left brain is like, oh, I'm so goddamn wise now.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, oh, I got into spirituality recently. I'm going to tell everyone about it. I'm going to tell everyone how spiritual I am. And I'm going to be all high and mighty about how I finally understand how to live life.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, that's definitely not what you want out of it.
Yeah, I've been that person. I remember that. Like
But I think also like sometimes that's part of the journey you need to go on, especially
exactly.
when you're learning something new and you're enthusiastic about it. Like you want to tell people, like, oh, look at this cool new thing I'm learning, and it can be wrapped up in a little bit of ego, but sometimes it's
Yeah,
just like 19. You kind of have to go through that. Um, and I suppose it's better that you even go through that than not go through it at all, because at
mm,
least like it starts you on that path.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah.
Like for me, it was like this stuff is so helpful. Check this out, and everyone's just like, I'm just living my normal
Yeah, you're
life.
at a party drinking beers, and you're like, "Hey guys, I was doing dishes the other day, and I started questioning who is Nick."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
people are just, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?"
I'm just like, guys, this is helpful for mental health. Check this out. They're like, yeah, I'm just living my daily life. Like,
Yeah, that's
I don't,
also something I've learned is like people don't like stuff when you just like for that example, like it doesn't naturally come up in conversation. You're just like, I've learned this, you should learn it too. Because
mm,
people need to be in the right place and time, not just for spirituality, for like anything.
yeah,
And you do find that when you have conversations with people, sometimes it'll pop up and you're like, it's a
mm,
good conversation to have. But when you're like the guy at the party who's like, hey bro, guess what I've been learning about?
mm, yeah. Like I felt like, guys, it's taking me like a good year and a half to learn this. Can I just give it to you right now for free? And they're just like, I'm doing
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
I
exactly.
had to like learn like, wait, why am I even doing that anyways?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because like thinking
We've
back
got, we've
to
got,
a time when I was I was tripping in Vung with some friends. We were doing shrooms. And during the trip, I was hanging out with them. And like before the trip, I was thinking like I hope we have a really good discussion about some deep stuff. But during the trip, I was just like, I don't even care.
yeah, yeah,
I was just like, I'm just chilling.
yeah. I think it's those forced conversations, whether you're tripping or any time, like no one really likes forced conversations.
Hmm.
It's much better when it happens naturally.
Dude, during that trip, my friend's girlfriend, she said like, hey, like you all better be honest during your trip and tell us like everything that you think about or whatever. Like be honest. I'm like,
Oh
okay,
my
okay.
God.
Okay. And then
By
during
the
my
way, we've got like 30 seconds left.
yeah. During the trip, I was just like they were like using their phones, like, and I was like, so do you use your phone or does your phone use you? And then she got annoyed and she left.
Like,
She just left. I was like, okay, fuck it.
yeah, all right, see ya. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we've got a couple of seconds left. I think this is going to end soon.
All right, sweet. Yeah, let's close it out, man. I'll continue chapter 3 next week.
Yeah, man, it's been good. Very enjoyable.
Awesome, man. Take care, brother. Have fun in Australia.
Yeah, cheers, mate. See you in a bit. Bye.
Go fight Are some you who
I
kangaroos.
will.
You
See
actually think you are? What
ya.
exactly is reality? Did Grant finally fight that kangaroo? Find out in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.